We're here with a very special guest, the CEO of Chessable, chessable.com, Geert van der Velde. Thanks for joining us. Geert, is a friend, known him for a few years now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's good to be here. Thanks for hosting me on your stream in the dojo.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Welcome to the dojo. Um, I guess actually, first question for you. I'm curious. Like, I know you've been visiting a lot of streams. You've been doing like a book tour essentially of all these different streams. So what's
That's
that
a good
about? Is
way
it
of-
having to do with the merger or what exactly?
yeah, so Chessable was, as Chess.com acquired the Play Magnus Group earlier or late last year, I guess, like around Christmas time. Chessable is part of that group of companies, and we became part of the Chess.com family um, when that merger happened, and so I thought it would be a cool idea if my dog is really excited about this stream.
No worries.
If you hear a little dog in the background barking, that's my dog Monty. Um, but yeah, I thought it'd be a cool idea to just like visit everybody, like you and all the other streamers and show my face. And if anybody has any questions about Chessable, then I'll answer questions about Chessable or just talk to people and connect with people. And it seemed like a really fun idea and kind of like a really low key way of connecting with everybody.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's great to have you. We have a lot of Chessable users, power users in the dojo. I don't know if you've seen our Discord much, but like we've got this public Discord, and we have a
Mhm.
channel for courses essentially for people to discuss courses. And it's supposed to be just kind of a broad, but it's basically like a Chessable channel. It's just people just like talking Chessable nonstop. So yeah, folks, if you have any questions about Chessable, like yeah, whatever you want. I don't know, features you'd like to happen, or questions about the site, or anything. Geert is the guy and can answer you. I actually do have a question just to kind of lead us off. Like,
Yeah.
since the acquisition, I've been seeing like some integrations of Chessable and Chess.com, but
Mhm.
maybe you could like be a lot more specific with what exactly that's gonna entail.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first one, the most obvious one I think that people have noticed is that there's now a link in chess.com linking straight to Chessable. So if you're in chess.com and you click on learn, the second tab there says Chessable courses. So that's like one of the more obvious pathways now that chess.com have created to create more discoverability for Chessable, which is awesome. And it's led to a lot of new people finding out about us. Another one obviously is me getting to visit all the streamers and getting to hang out and just talk about chess and Chessable. So that's another nice one. And then in the future, we're working on lots of new ways for chess.com and Chessable to work together. I mean, there's like an obvious one, which would be figuring out how we can reward Diamond members and Chessable Pro members and figure out like what to do for those people who are supporting the site. And so I look forward to seeing what more we can do. We have one cool feature that I could probably mention because it should be live now. I haven't actually checked the log, but we have a feature called Priority Lines, which went into beta a couple weeks ago. And for all the diehard Chessable Power users who are watching the stream and who study openings a lot, this will be a really welcome feature. So priority lines is a feature that when you connect your play zone to this feature, so you type in your username on from chess.com and you put that into the priority lines feature, you can toggle it and it will have two options. If a course has lines that are marked important by the author, you can set it to that. And those are like a human selection, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an author who's has a repertoire of let's say 600 trainable variations, and you want to study the 50 or 60 lines that this variations that this author has marked as important, then you reduce your study load to like a more tightly focused like set of variations that are important first.
Right.
um, and this is different from what you see in Chessable opening repertoires in the beginning, where we have a quick starter guide, which like the intention of the quick starter guide is to just to get you off hit the ground running with a few variations that will teach you the opening and get you familiar with the basic ideas of what the author had in mind. And then next step would be going to either the priority lines or the important lines. The important lines are the human picks, but the priority lines are data driven. So that's where we take your play zone data and we say, oh, you're playing at 2000 level, and these are the variations that you meet the most between 2000 and 2200 or whatever the ranges that we have. And if you mark that and you want to study the course with those, all of a sudden the total amount of variations will again change from, let's say, whatever it is, 600 to something. But this time it will be based on your rating level and what you will be meeting in the play zone. So that's very practical, right? If you have a lifetime repertoire, you know that like sometimes the total amount of trainable variations can be kind of overwhelming. And that's because the point of that of a lifetime repertoire on Chessable is to be comprehensive. And our intention with creating those courses isn't to overwhelm you with the theory, but it's to give you the option to at least have a comprehensive opening repertoire that will last you a lifetime. The idea isn't like, oh, you can finish this course in a month. The idea is you're going to spend a long time studying this, and over time, you're going to become familiar with this. But of course, how do you get from starting from zero to having this comprehensive knowledge of your system, of your opening? You do that incrementally, and so it became really clear to us in the past couple of years of listening to our customers and like asking for product feedback, that something that would help them get off the ground by using the data from their actual games to be filtered into the opening repertoire would be the way to go. So I'm really excited that we're going to get to launch this feature, and maybe it's already live now. You can go check it out if you have an opening repertoire in Chessable. You can see if the feature is live there, and while we're rolling it out, and the response I've seen on certain unofficial Discords and in some of our Chessable forums has been really positive. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love like the potential there of like connecting your account to like your Chessable repertoire and then it's showing you like looking at your games. I saw there was a feature I think is live already where you can get tactics pulled from your chess.com games. I know you could already do that, but never with chess.com. And that just seems fun. I don't know. I haven't tried that yet, but I think I definitely will at some point.
It should be easy to do. I mean, if your chess.com's account is already connected to your Chessable account, which is pretty easy, uh, then you would probably already have the course. But if you don't have that yet, I mean, you can go to your Chessable account right now. If you click on tools and you go down to the tab that says Puzzle Connect and you just type in your username, in an hour from now, you should have a private course with puzzles from your games. It's funny, I see that Braden is in the chat and he's talking about, what a cool feature would be. Braden, we have a working prototype of the feature that you're describing, and we call it a deviation dashboard. So in the future, there will be a feature that actually shows you when you've deviated from your opening repertoire based on the games that you've played. So that feature is in the works, and we have a working prototype, and we hope in the future to launch that as well. So we're slowly going from personalized training, or I should say, we're slowly going towards personalized training, right? We're currently in this kind of in-between mode where Chessable is partially customizable, but it's not yet completely data-driven and doesn't take enough information from your games yet to make it super practical. But in the future, we will be, and that, of course, is the future of chess. Like we need the chess tools that you use to work for you and be practical for you. So exciting times.
Interesting. I mean, scary. It's scary, but it's definitely interesting. Yeah, actually,
Why is it scary? What scares you about it?
The future technology just scares me in general, and I guess my philosophy is that, like the tools that one needs to get really good at chess have already been out there for many years, right? One can do it exclusively with with books, just like studying on their own, like that's already been available. And in the last several years, there have been, all kinds of like chess tools and new ways of like studying and new books. And I feel like people are always kind of chasing that new thing, that new method. But it's like, well,
Mhm.
people have been getting good at chess for years and years before computers even existed, right? So it's like, I don't know. I always worry that it's gonna obfuscate the process.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that it's something to be scared of. Like, I'm a runner. I love training and etc. And you can see that even in like something as basic as running, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
new training methods have a significant impact on the performance of people. And it's the same with like recently, with these like I'm not even going to name the brand, but there's a special kind of shoe that comes with a special kind of sole
Mm-hmm.
that helps runners run more efficiently and increases their performance in marathons by 2%. If you imagine what that means for runners who are trying to optimize, their race times for by seconds, and now all of a sudden they're getting 2% faster running times. That's a huge increase in performance. And so you could argue, okay, but now it's not fair anymore. Like people who used to run without these shoes, like they're the better runners, and et cetera, et cetera. I hear all that, but at the same time, like technology isn't here to, like let's say, turn people into things that they're not. I've always kind of considered technology to be an enhancement of what we are capable of as human beings. And if technology helps us be better at chess by giving us lessons and training tools that are more suited to our personal styles, then I'm all for it. I can personally, like my journey with Chessable was I finally found something many years ago when I discovered the website, and I wasn't even the CEO of the company. Um, I discovered something where I was like, finally, some piece of software that shows me the openings and then asks me to repeat the moves, and now I can work with something because, like, we had like other database programs and all sorts of like books, and I would spend just godless amounts of hours on setting up positions and trying to even remember what the sub variations of something was, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And all of a sudden, I log into Chessable and I get John Bartholomew Scandinavian, and within like 2 weeks, I could play the lines, and all of a sudden, I was having a lot of fun, like getting into middle games that I understood, and like, yeah, that was cool. So I'm not so worried about technology, being scary. I just think that with the right attitude and etc., I mean, a pen is also technology in one way or another. So books are technology.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think everything, and especially Chessable, like it has to be like used in the right way. So a
Hmm.
lot of times when people, actually, I find myself defending Chessable a lot because people have like complaints about it, but it's like, it's like you're in charge of like what Chessable courses you get, like what you study, how you spend your time studying, um,
Hmm.
and it's like I think regardless of the tool, as long as someone follows good chess habits, so like not rushing to input a solution, for example, it's like
Hmm.
that's going to be the most important thing, whether you're studying with Chessable or with like normal books or like whatever it may be. Um, but
Yeah, it is.
yeah.
But there's also good habits with technology and bad habits with technology there, I think, too. Yeah. So it's like, let's say, like, if you go to a gym and you want to work out,
Hmm.
um, um, when you first go to the gym and you first start, like looking around, like what weights you should start using and what machines you start using, unless you are exceptionally, like technically oriented and you understand immediately how like a piece of fitness machinery works or something, you're going to go to someone and ask like the coach or the guy in the room, like, hey, how does this work? And so we have a long way to go, I'll admit, with like making Chessable more intuitive and making Move Trainer more intuitive, making our content more intuitive, and helping people get the most out of the tool. At
Hmm.
the same time, that doesn't mean that it's not effective or not a good tool. It's like you say, it's like you just kind of have to understand how to use it. So like the picture that I sent you is
Yeah,
kind of like how.
I'm gonna put it up now, by the way, so everyone can see.
Yeah, okay. So like I tend to think about it in a way of like if you go to the gym, you see that really big, dumb, clunky fitness machine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the big, dumb, clunky fitness machine and you go there for the first time, then you might not have a good idea of like, how do I use this? Like, how do I pull on this weight? Do I pull this way, that way? And like, if you use it the wrong way, maybe you're pulling your back, right? And I think it's the same with chess training. It's if you're just blindly following Move Trainer and you're just like maybe you're not even reading the annotations. Maybe you're just like drilling and drilling and drilling the lines that are um, in your repertoire. Maybe you're not getting anything out of it. But if you use it in a conscious way, right, and if you use it step by step, and you don't try to bite off more than you can chew, then probably over time you're going to improve using the tool. So I kind of think of it as in that way. It's like you have a big clunky fitness machine, but once you understand how to use the big clunky fitness machine, then it'll be better. And hopefully over time we can make that machine look a lot better and make it much more intuitive for you to use. But right now I would say it's like it's reasonably big clunky fitness machine, and over time we want to make it a little bit less clunky, and with the help of everybody's input and feedback, we can make it a really good tool to help you get stronger.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good analogy. Don't get me wrong. I'm very pro Chessable. I think it's a great site, and I don't have that many private students these days. But when I used to, I would have them use it, and I would give them like courses to follow, and stuff. Um, Almost never opening courses though, to be honest. It was just like tactics course. That's actually the thing I think is so underappreciated. I actually think Chessable is great for practicing your theoretical endgames. Like
Mm-hmm.
drilling like a key endgame, I think is super useful because so many players, they if they do learn it from a book, they never practice it over the board, and then when they finally get it over the board, they just can't do it. It's just they didn't practice it enough.
Yeah.
It's just not there. They maybe understand it, but yeah, the muscle memory isn't wasn't developed.
Yeah, exactly. So that's interesting, right? Muscle memory. Like this is fascinating about chess. I think that even at a very high level, grandmasters even continuously need to work on those end games and
Mm-hmm.
etc. because precisely because it's technique.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of like you can never do enough work on the end game and technique there because there's so many nuances and subtleties. And so and probably because our brains are just so terrible at figuring out the nuances, going over them all the time repeatedly and giving yourself these little prompts from time to time to like just put all the things in the right place. If the rook is on the fifth rank and the pawn is on the fourth, and now like all of a sudden like there's a slight nuance here, you need to be reminded of those things. And I think even and that's why these end games are always so complex. And even if you see like 2,750 grandmasters missing wins and drawing at the last minute just because those things are so difficult. So yeah, and that's one nice thing about training with spaced repetition is you can go over those positions until they become subconscious, and then when it comes time to sit down over the board, of course you're going to have to recall some of it, but also the pattern recognition kicks in. It gives you like an anchor. Okay, you've seen this position before. What were the nuances? These were the nuances. Okay, so now and then maybe you come to what the correct move is much faster because you have that like database of of these end game positions in your head that will allow you to make a decision faster. And
I would
so,
think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I was doing the 100 endgames you must know book for a bit, and like I definitely felt
mhm,
like in some endgames it's like my hand knows like where to put the rook, for example, like a
yeah.
little bit faster than it did before. Especially for online players, I think it's useful. For OTB players, I definitely suggest to like play out a lot of these endgames like OTB, so your actual hand is like moving the piece and you're like
Yeah.
calculating. But I think Chessable is still like a very good kind of start for that because it's yeah the reps that are I don't know I think important for that.
Yeah, and if somebody's asking, somebody's asking about my ELO. I think my official FIDE rating, you can look it up. It's probably something like 1,600. It may have fallen down below that now because I had a not so great tournament at Vikings where I played weekend tournaments. So maybe it's below 1600 now, which
Wycon's
is
a
kind of
super strong. You shouldn't feel bad about not doing well there.
no. But I played. It was I could have walked away with 3 out of 3. I played a weekend tournament. My first game was an interesting one where I was totally winning and touched a piece, wanted to move. I saw some like TikTok of you touching a piece and wanting to move it and then being so kind of similar incident.
Hmm.
Um, but I touched the piece that I was going to grab, and then I realized, oh, I'm losing. So I wanted to move my piece another square, but then because I touched the piece,
So this piece you're going to capture, huh?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
I had to capture, and then but I didn't know that that was a rule. So I learned in my first game that was a thing, and then my second game I had a nice positional win, and the third one was one of those like kind of painful one tiny mistake, and then I just got like pushed off the board real slowly, and just kind of like everything fell apart. So
Hmm.
you know it goes both ways. But like I think online, my chess.com blitz rating is like 1900. Um, so I hover between 19 and 2000 on chess.com. That's kind of where I am.
Cool. I'm curious. Are you? Did you say that was your first tournament that you just mentioned?
No, no,
Oh, it was a
I
recent one.
played my first tournament when I was 36 or 37, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was 35. I'm 43 now, so I'm
Not that long ago.
no. I got my first FIDE rating is probably the similar or slightly higher as what it is now. So like I I debuted with like 1650 and I've kind of like gone back up and down. I've had a few tournaments where I think I've been up to 1750 FIDE at some point, but honestly, I don't have the time or the willpower to commit to playing 9 round tournaments to
Hmm.
get that rating up.
There's a question. Actually, I have this question a lot. Maybe you could address it. A lot of people feel like Chessable kind of assigns the courses aren't properly labeled, like whether they're for advanced players or beginner players. Personally, I feel like it kind of depends on the course. Like for instance, my course on endgame studies has puzzles that are very easy, and then works its way up to puzzles that are more
Yeah.
difficult. So I put my range personally as like 1200 to 2000 online rating, which is pretty wide, but
Yeah.
I feel like that's. But anyway, what do you have to kind of say on this topic?
Very hard to get right. It's really hard to get right because, and we're working on that. We recently went through all the courses and remarked them based on a lot of the feedback that we have. We're considering just letting it go and allowing users to rate the material.
Mm.
Um, and but then, so it's difficult because there's also like, should we just ignore the expertise of the creator, right? Like you have an opinion on what you think your material, who it's suitable for. And what if you thought that it was suitable for 800 to or whatever you said, 1200 to
2000.
2000 people, but then a lot of people actually like think that it's not suitable for that level and you have a specific type of 1200 in mind or you feel like no you should know this as a 1200 but you need to work on it, right? Like there's an element of the eye of the beholder here that's at play when we're talking about creating educational content because you're a coach, you're an expert, you work with people all the time, and you're trying to help them develop to become better chess players. So maybe you've purposely made that material challenging for 1200, or maybe like the 1/3 of the range of the course is suitable for 1200s, but
Right.
then like the other 30-40% of it isn't. And then how do you rate this course? Like it's so difficult to get it right. So the answer isn't easy. There's no perfect way for us to label them. We try to do as best as our job as best as possible by labeling them. And if we really think after a ton of feedback, like, okay, we should adjust the ratings, we do, but it takes time. And I think people forget that sometimes we err on the side of caution and patience, and we want to give creators a chance to have a say in how they label their courses, as opposed to just only listening to customers, because it's not it's not just a one-sided affair when it comes to labeling things for educational value. So it's not an easy one, but definitely I understand that this is, you know, a thing that people struggle with, and I can only say, like, we'll try to do better.
I know you have this like unofficial Discord. I'm surprised you don't have like an official Chessable Discord server.
It's resources, man. Like, I wish we had like 30 more people to do all the things we want to do, to have like a TikTok specialist and a YouTube specialist and like YouTube specialist. That'd be interesting. And like we need like so many more people, but that's the thing. Like the team can only grow, you know, with the way that the platform grows. We want to tackle everything and do everything, but you can only do so many things, and so you have to focus. And so for us, like we of course, like, shout out to the people of the unofficial Chessable Discord for setting up that community and hosting so many people and being there. That's awesome. But like it is an unofficial one because we don't have the bandwidth or the mental capacity to be everywhere all the time. I sometimes make a little guest appearance here and there, and like, you know, I try to listen, I try to read everything, but it's the best way to do it is just to reach out or send an email to our customer service. That's why we have our customer service. So anytime you want to write to hello@chessable.com, the message will be read and it will be sent to the right person in the company. That's why we set up that customer desk. So that's absolutely the best place to leave customer feedback or a complaint or an idea for a new feature. You know, you can of course like yell it into Twitch chat and hope that I'll read it, but you know, it's much better idea to send your ideas to hello@chessable.com, because then it's logged, and then if somebody likes it, we'll definitely work with it.